Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing. Alright, so this is the shitty audio. We've got the shitty audio, but I'm trying to get us the good audio. Oh, man. Sorry, y'all. It's been a crazy day so far. A lot of stuff going on. Don't worry, I'm getting a haircut soon. Literally tomorrow. So you won't have to look at whatever this is. Oh my god. Yeah, this is out of hand. Yeah, I don't even know what to do with this right now. Yeah, it's good enough. Alright. 5 late points. No late points. If anything, I should get some late points back. You guys see the predicament that the whole setup is in, and yet I fought tirelessly to make sure that this stream began on time. So if anything, I deserve some props here. Let's get into the stream topic. Let's get into the stream topic. I know I got some supers. All right, hold on a second. Let's make sure that this thing works. We need that. We need this. Okay. Audio 7, video 7. All right, you guys should be able to hear me, and now you should be able to see me. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, good stuff. Good stuff, everybody. We have made some progress here. We are on our way to starting the stream. Not that the stream hasn't already started, but I mean, like, in the more fun sense, starting the stream. Okay, let's get through. Let's get through these supers real quick, and then let's get rolling. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know what the deal is with the mic right now. It should be working. All right. Okay. First of all, everybody, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick, because we've got the tech stuff all problem sorted. To Future Visa, thanks for 2. Does Emu need to be alive before the Void Century flashback? I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. At this point, I don't feel like Emu is as... I don't think he... Because it doesn't feel like he's going to be the final villain anymore, right? So I don't think he necessarily warrants being this ancient primordial evil or something like that goes all the way back to the first world. That feels to me more like what you would write if Oda wanted this character to be the final villain of the story, but it just doesn't seem to be it. So to me, I feel like Emu's good with the backstory that we know of him, which is he was a saint during the Second World, towards the end of the Second World. He knew Joy Boy. He seemed to have gotten his hands on some power, and the immortality surgery led the coalition of kings against the ancient kingdom. But ultimately, it seems like he was one of the 20 kings. So to me, that seems fine. Otherworlds JT, thanks for the 5. Name their final opponents. Oh, this is fun. Kuzan, Smoker, Sabo, Kobe, Sengoku, Law, Kid, Garp, Doflamingo, Crocodile, Hancock, Fujitora, Loki, Katakuri, Kizaru, Bonnie. This is really difficult. So obviously there's going to be some mixing and matching here. Some characters are going to fight other characters on this list. I don't know if everybody's getting a fight, you know? I don't know if everyone's getting a fight. I mean, we're hard-pressed in most arcs for even all the strats to get fights, you know? So just because we're heading towards a big finale with everybody at war with one another, you know, I mean, that's just look at the ending of Wano, right? It's not like every scabbard got a fight or anything like that. Not every straw hat even got a fight. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say certain things. So Kizaru, okay. So I think Kizaru will be defeated by either Aokiji or Fujitora. I think there's a lot of writing stuff that goes into either of those arguments. I think Sabo, Green Bull, Smoker, I have no fucking clue. He can fight. He's just too weak to fight anyone relevant at the moment. You can't even put him against a God's Knight, you know? Kobe, I think Kobe versus... I've said before, I think Kobe versus Lucci, but I think that Oda might have someone bigger in store for Kobe, maybe a God's Knight. I think characters like Law, Crocodile Hancock, I think these are good candidates to get to fight God's Knights. Sengoku, I don't know if he's going to get some big final villain. Kid, I don't know if he's coming back in the story. Garp, I don't know if he's getting some big final villain. Doflamingo, I don't know if he's coming back in the story. Loki, I think he either fights Shamrock, or if this whole red line serpent thing is real, I think he fights that. Katakuri, I don't know if he's going to be, you know, back in the fray necessarily. If he is, then I would love to see him fight a God's Knight. Bonnie, I don't know. Don't know. That one's hard. Tafiza, thanks for 2. Will tomorrow's video have a better sponsor also? It has Factor, and I love Factor, so take that as you will. Let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Thank you, Prophet Glutton, for the jewels. Thank you for the 200 jewels. Sent Flow State, thank you. Sid P, thanks for 10. I don't care about the memes or claims that I ruined One Piece. I'm sad about the story. Returns to hiding 4 years later, still in hiding. The real reason for Wano analysis not happening. I don't really know how to respond to that, man, but I'll get the Wano analysis out at some point, don't worry. Garb's final villain is going to be Dementia. Yeah, I don't know. Justin, thanks for the 2. Akainu, hopefully for his epic versus with Luffy. Yeah, I still hope Akainu gets a fight with Luffy, but, yeah. Sixo says Sabo Green Bull is diabolical. Stop that. I mean, who else could Sabo fight? There's not really anybody else that he would have a chance of beating. Green Bull is the strongest character that Sabo could reasonably beat. Unless Sabo unlocks Conqueror's Haki, which is obviously something that we would talk about today. Sanji versus Kizaru. That would be cool, of course. I think we would need to see some Dami reversing shit for Kizaru. Like, because you just know that people are going to be arguing, oh, Kizaru's heart's not in it, or some shit. I would love to see Kizaru get Dami reversing or something. Some people have talked about in past streams, like, what if a lot of the Marines get Dami reversing? I think that would be good. Yeah. Michael Kobe's getting it for sure. Yeah. We spent 150 points on a Wano defense and still haven't gotten it. That is such revisionist history. 1, you did get a Wano defense. And 2, because you guys said that it's not a good enough Wano defense, I did a make good where I basically gave you, what, 300, 450 points worth of additional rewards. So you cannot claim that I did not give you enough, unless you would like to go back and refer to the 5-hour stream. I still have to give you guys the high Morge cast, though. So I might do that today, I don't know. I think I'll give you guys a heads up before I do the high Morge cast. Ison2339, thanks to 2. With every chapter, Zoro and Sanji versus Blackbeard Pirates gets funnier. I could do a high Pirate King podcast. That could be fun. Because Pirate King podcast, so I'm recording Pirate King podcast this Wednesday. If you guys want me to be high for that, I could do that. Andrew points out we did not spend those 150 points. I actively argued not to do so. Look, it was what the chat voted is what the chat voted. If Kizaru got Dami Reversi, the Admiral Tards would still say he's mentally conflicted. I like Dami Reversi because it basically removes that from the equation. Because you can't argue anymore. Like, it made Rocks go after his family and shit like that. So you can no longer, and he still had enough Haki to like split the sky by himself. So, you know, it's there's not really an argument once someone gets Dami Reversi. You know, the bad side he just takes over. Tiptia says you still need to pay interest still. No, if anything, you guys owe me interest. I gave you a 500 or something points worth of rewards. So at this point, I get some leeway. If we're being very technical here, I should get a lot of leeway with late points. But I'm playing it fair. Playing it fair. So, you know, we called it square. We called it square. Bro's about to beat Shiryu and some other bum. End of story. Yamato's final fight is a team up with Kazuki Moria against a Dami Reversi zombie Kaido. I still don't know if Kaido and Big Mom come back. That would be crazy. Tiptio Trevisa, thanks for the 2. I edited my Pirate King submission. Can you check again? Yeah, let me check it on the submissions page. I think I'm seeing a spoiler here for Better Call Saul on my feed. This is, oh my god. I fucking hate how YouTube is able to pick up on shit that you're watching just because you click on some things and then it's very frustrating. Tio, yeah, it says edited. It says edited. I can see the edit, so it should be all good, man. Yeah, get your Pirate King podcast submissions in now while you can. I will be recording it not tomorrow. I'll be recording it Wednesday, so it'll be out Thursday. For those of you who don't know, Pirate King Podcast is my once-a-month podcast for my top-tier Pirate King members, both on YouTube and Patreon. And I go through and answer every single person's question in depth, in far greater depth than I can on stream, because I've got more time, because obviously it's, it's a dedicated podcast. And podcasts usually run about an hour and a half long. You can ask me about anything, One Piece, other anime, manga, TV, movies, whatever. For the moment, let's switch to this. You can ask me about anything. And you get access to all previous podcasts as well. So definitely, if you want to get in on it, then hop in today. And I think I'm not going to do this one as a high stream. I'll do next Monday's Morchcast as a high stream. I think that'll be good. Since I don't know if your assistant has compiled it yet. So we've changed our system. So now she just compiles it the day of. So as long as you've got it edited by the day of, it's all good. And I'm not going to record it till Wednesday. Spoiling the Mord stream. Sabo slander, but he's wrong. Akainu obviously gets Conquerors. Usopp gets regular Conquerors. Blackbeard gets it. Kobe gets it. I just don't know the argument for Sabo having Conquerors Haki still, because it's just, I don't know. Yeah, Casey. Yeah. It's okay. My fiance is home, so my fiance is going crazy. I might let her out in a second. Yeah, Casey. Wait. Yeah, it's okay. Just wait. Tiptiu, thanks for 2. Moria is a better lost his Conquerors Haki than Crocodile. I don't know. I think they're both solid candidates for losing their Conquerors Haki. It'd be kind of insane if, that would mean that most of the Shichibukai had Conquerors Haki, I guess, except it would really make Kuma and Jinbei the odd ones out. Jesus Burgess, thanks for the 2. Could Kobe be Dami Reversi to fight Luffy? Oh, that would be dark. I don't know about that. See, it's interesting because, I've talked about this before, but there's lots of parallels, obviously, between Doflamingo and Emu, and one of the things that Doflamingo would do is very similar to what Emu would do. Dami Reversi is, Doflamingo puppeteering people with his strings was basically a preview to Emu doing Dami Reversi. It even works in kind of a similar manner. Emu inserts his tentacles, for lack of a better word, into you, and then he's able to do Dami Reversi. Hold on, let me let her out real quick. I'll give you 1 second. Okay, okay, okay. Hold on, hold on. Um. Anyway, continuing on, continuing on. Um. Tio, thanks for the two. Conqueror's Haki users are fearless. Sabo's just brave. So I actually think so. I've got a video coming out tomorrow with Sanji and Conqueror's Haki, and going through to really understand why it's actually pretty clear in retrospect. I was wrong, obviously. I mean, I never said Sanji can't have Conqueror's Haki, but I was just like, oh, it's I'm not sure, right? But clearly he's gonna have it. So I think it's become very clear to me what type of characters have Conqueror's Haki, and I kind of sum it up towards the end of the video if you want to see that. But yeah, it makes a lot more sense to me. Sabo might have it. He might have it. So I'm not going to go so far as to say he doesn't have it. But there's been nothing that he's shown in the series so far that establishes that he would have it. Does that make sense? Like he's not shown any traits. Like there's been no scenes where it's like, damn, that's Conqueror's Haki. You know? Peep UKB says for real. I'm so lost about. I thought the mic Morge had a year ago. This mic is not currently. You see what's over here? It's over here. The mic's not currently working, so it's desktop audio. Yeah, there's nothing that Sabo's done that's braver than what like anybody in the Straw Hat crew would do. You know, it's not. And Conqueror's Haki is not just about bravery, but there's no like. You got to understand, One Piece is a series where like there's a million brave characters. Half the or like 80% of protagonist characters tend to do things that are very brave, right? So it's like with Conqueror's Haki users, it generally tends to be characters that are like another step up in terms of scenes where it depicts like something crazy in terms of willpower or resolve or conviction. Those tend to be the characters that have Conqueror's Haki. Usually you fall into two buckets. Either you're a character who has Conqueror's Haki and we don't have a scene like that for you necessarily, but then you're probably a character that we just haven't seen that much of in general, right? Or you're a character who has Conqueror's Haki and you're a regular character in the series, and there's clear examples of where that sort of conviction and resolve would be seen. Yeah, no one's arguing that Sabo's not brave. It's just like if you want to argue Sabo's brave and therefore he's going to get Conqueror's Haki, then you got to make that same argument for every Straw Hat, right? Jesus Burgess says Sabo would only get Conquerors to be equal to Luffy and Ace, not because it makes sense at all. Yeah, and that's exactly the point, which is that Sabo is not written to be equal to Luffy and Ace. If Oda wanted Luffy to have a brother that legitimately had, you know, top tier, tippy top tier, Pirate King type potential, then he wouldn't have killed Ace. Like, Ace had to be killed because Luffy wouldn't be able to stop living in his shadow, you know? Because obviously Luffy's gotten a lot stronger in the last 2 years, but imagine how much stronger Ace would have gotten in those 2 years. You know, he was already Conqueror's Haki user, armament, etc., yada yada yada. He was already very very strong, and most people believe that he was going to be Pirate King next. You know, so Ace had to go because you can't write Luffy being in a brother's shadow. That's why Sabo's the convenient replacement brother. Like, just think about it from story writing perspective wise, right? Why swap out Ace, a character who had Conqueror's Haki from like a young age, for basically a budget version of Ace, who was a bit weaker as a child, right? So comparable to Ace on paper, but who notably did not have Conqueror's Haki, and therefore was missing the key ingredient to make him a Pirate King candidate, or like a top tier, a character that would clearly potentially compete with Luffy and the story, you know? If Kid has it, Sabo should too. Kid's done more insanely brave things than Sabo. Kid is genuinely fucking crazy with some of the shit that he's done. Like, in the New World, he essentially got passed around by all of the, by all of the, emperors, but it's kind of crazy if you think about it. He basically challenged Shanks straight up twice, right? Like, Kid basically went about doing all of the things that Luffy would do. It's just Kid had less success doing it. His first thing in the New World is he challenges an emperor, Shanks, loses an arm, doesn't care, invades the territory of Big Mom, right? Successful this time. Then Kaido drops in front of him. Everybody else, like, shits themselves and gives in. Kid tries to take on Kaido straight up, just like Luffy. Then again, right after all of that, going back at Shanks for a second time around. Like, it's fucking suicidally brave, right? Sabo, he's done brave stuff, but it's not like Kid wouldn't run in any of the situations that Sabo ran in, you know? Like, even from a very young age, and I'm not saying, because people get too picky about this, they're like, oh, you're saying Conqueror's Haki users can never run, well, what about this one time that Whitebeard didn't want to fight or something? There's a difference, right? I'm just saying that Kid has clear, I'm not saying that running disqualifies you from having Conqueror's Haki, but I'm just saying that if you want to argue about who is more brave, or who's shown more just straight up insane will and drive, Kid definitely has done that more than Sabo. Like, Sabo will cut his losses. Like, Sabo just doesn't have any scenes in the story where it's like, oh my god, like, transcendental, insane will or conviction or resolve here. Like, he just did something so, like, Sabo attacking emus, how's that different than Brook should have Conqueror's Haki too, right? Then, well, I think Usopp legitimately might, but I don't know. Sabo literally attacked emu. Cool. So then tell me that Brook should have Conqueror's Haki as well. Tell me that right now. Tell me Brook has Conqueror's Haki. There's no argument for Sabo that cannot be applied to other characters. He hasn't shown anything that's like, oh my god, you just had a scene that's unreasonable display of crazy willpower and conviction. Sabo took a shot at Emu, realized it didn't work, and left. A million other One Piece characters would do that, right? Sabo doesn't know who or what Emu is, exactly. And keep in mind, the silly thing about this discussion is that it doesn't matter that it's Emu, right? Everything's relative. A weak character like pre-time skip Nami, if she had attacked, or like Vivi attacking Crocodile or something pre-time skip, that's the same level of bravery or whatever as Sabo attacking Emu. Everything's relative, right? It doesn't actually matter that Sabo attacked Emu, okay? Characters that have Conqueror's Haki kind of tend to do, because brave characters in One Piece are so common, so dime a dozen, most Conqueror's Haki characters in One Piece, like, watch the Sanji video tomorrow, you can point to clear scenes where it's like, oh yeah, Oda just wrote a moment for them. A moment where they display something that's sort of next level, you know? Viz Bays, thanks for the 5. Hey Morge, long time no see. Anyone on that final page for chapter 1121? I don't think Conqueror's Haki is just bravery, it's people who can't back down, like Kid. I mean, but then you're including, like, Buggy and stuff like that. And Aokiji clearly doesn't have it, you know? Aokiji, if he was going to bloom Conqueror's Haki, he would have bloomed it at this point, and he just doesn't have it. I disagree that it's anyone on that final page, but most people on that final page would have it. Eric, thanks for 2. At the end of the day, there is no pattern. Watch my video tomorrow, man. I think a clear pattern is emerging more. There is a pretty consistent pattern. It's almost, I almost don't even want to talk about this too. I mean, it's the title of the stream, so we kind of got it. But tomorrow's video, I think, sheds a lot of light. It makes sense when you look at why Sanji would have it, especially with Gabon's explanation as well. To Tier Trebizo, thanks to 2. Why do One Piece fans treat Conqueror's Haki like just need bravery? Because most people's favorite characters in the series have shown bravery at some point. Therefore, if you want your favorite character to get Conqueror's Haki, it's easier to classify, oh, Conqueror's Haki just means bravery. That's why fucking, you know, Aokiji can have it, or Law can have it, or Sabo can have it, right? Even though, from what we've seen, the characters that do have Conqueror's Haki have usually more than just bravery, you know? Again, because if it's just bravery, then fucking everybody since East Blue should have it, you know? Henchme987, thanks for the 5. Sanji isn't even able to kick female-shaped water. Does this mean any Logia could auto-beat him by forming elemental curves? Shit, I think that's a fair argument. I think that they could. I just don't think they realize that that's a path to victory. Let's get Streamlux up to 50. Kind of like Mr. 2 didn't realize till he accidentally turned into Nami. Like, he was just shuffling through different Straw Hats, and then he accidentally realized that Sanji is vulnerable to him turning into Nami. I think the same applies in this case. JR, thanks for the 2. Kid defeated a Sweet Commander, if we care about that. Yeah, like, he had some level of success against, you know, against Yonko Cruz. It wasn't just all losses, but if anything, it's almost more impressive. Like, it's kind of like how throughout Marineford and Impel Down, you saw Luffy just throwing himself headfirst against heavy hitter after heavy hitter who he had no business going up against, who handed him L's over and over. That's kind of like Kid, you know? Ray Uchiha, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 44 months. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we, the readers, think. It's up to Oda which character gets Conqueror's Haki. 100% agree, but there does need to be some sort of consistency in what type of traits require getting it. Because, like, let's say Wapol was just written with Conqueror's Haki, then it's kind of like, okay, so the whole disposition of a king and all of those things. Well, let's not even say Wapol. Fucking, I don't know, Spandam or something like that. Let's go even a step lower, right? There needs to be some sort of consistency because Oda's implied that Conqueror's Haki is more so an innate to your character sort of thing, not just like a, oh, anybody can get it, right? Based on the descriptions that we've got of Conqueror's Haki, for example, a character like Kizaru, who's just straight up like, I am a cog in a wheel, as black and white as you can get, if that character gets Conqueror's Haki, then it just wouldn't make sense anymore, right? Biz Bass, thanks for the 5. Part 2, Nolan could not back down from his stance that he was not lying. Luffy all the way in East Blue had no regrets because dying because he set out. Yeah, I mean, I strongly agree that not backing down is a huge part of Conqueror's Haki, but as you'll watch in the Sanji video, there's more nuance to it than that I'm realizing now. A lot of it is more so based on, are there contexts where a character will not back down? Eric, thanks to 2. The only thing for me is no doubt in people's wills. I think that is a solid basis. Again, watch tomorrow's video, and I think it's congruent with a lot of what I talk about there. If it was just for Brave, then like Arlong would have it too. Yeah. New X7, hey Mord, sorry I'm late. No worries, New X7, because you know why? Because in this stream, we forgive people who are late. Because we understand that if you're late, there's probably a really good reason, you know? There's all sorts of reasons. Kuzan has it? Oh, shit, Kuzan has it? Oh, I didn't realize Kuzan has it. They updated the Vibra card? Shit, I must have missed this. I must have missed, there must have been an SBS or something that came out. They must have updated the Vibra card somewhere. I didn't realize that Kuzan has it. Aokiji Vibra card. Shit. Yeah, I had no idea. The Vibra card that I'm looking at is just completely out of date. is just completely out of date. Because mine just says armament haki and observation haki. Fuck. Could you link us? Because you might actually have access to something I don't. You must. If there's a Vibra card out there that clarifies that the previous one was a misprint, and that Aokiji does in fact have armament and observation. I'm sincerely very sorry. I was going off of outdated information. Akainu is the only one who has it, I bet. Completely depends on Akainu's final role of the story. In my opinion, if Akainu is, let's say, a Sabo victim, like people imagine, or even a Kobe victim or something like that, you can't have Conqueror's Haki. Otherwise, how do you beat him, you know? If he's a Luffy victim, give him the Conqueror's Haki, you know? Wiper has it for real. I've been saying, there's a reason that Oda had to write that dude out of the story to keep him up in the sky. You put him down in the blue seas, best Conqueror's Haki alongside Luffy. I strongly think Akainu should have it. He just fits so well. Strongly think he should have it. I'm gonna move this. Let's not freak out. Fuck. Okay. All right. All right. Let's make the list. Let's get on the board. Dragon almost definitely has it. Yeah. Yeah. Julian Reed says, I think Aokiji had a Conqueror's Haki leak during the Garp Clash where they punched each other at the same time if he does have it, but there's no Vibra card confirmation. I just think that, how do I say this? Oda's been pretty consistent so far. He tells you in the Vibra card if a character has that type of Haki or not, unless he's waiting to show it on screen, right? So Garp is a great example because for a long time Garp was not written with having Conqueror's Haki in his Vibra card. But then after the Hachinosu raid, after Garp actually got to fight and all of his punches were like crazy powerful Haki, then Oda wrote in Conqueror's Haki. Because now the secret's out, right? Like Oda demonstrated on page that Garp has Conqueror's Haki, therefore now you can include it in the Vibra cards, Garp has Conqueror's Haki, right? If Oda didn't do that for Aokiji, then that means that Oda has not ever actually displayed that Aokiji is Conqueror's Haki on page, you know? Wiper would 100% have it. Do you think he could come back with all three types of Haki in a natural way, or would that be a step too far? I would rather just keep Wiper out of the story because we know that he's probably not been training over the pre-time. Like, he might be stronger in the post-time skip or whatever, but as far as we can tell, there hasn't been some huge threat or something like that in the Sky Islands. It seems like it's been very peaceful. NL was their big... Essentially, defeating NL for them was like defeating Emu, right? It saved the whole White Sea, or at least Sky Islands that matter, you know? So I think just writing-wise, it would kind of be like, why would he even be a lot stronger after that? Conqueror's Haki characters. All right. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, Garp and Aokiji pretty clearly just had a clash of armament because Garp held back. I personally think Garp held back way more than Aokiji held back, but it is what it is. All right, Conqueror's Haki characters. Let's make groups. Definitely. This is the definitely group. And then like more likely than not. Oh, let's say a good bet. A good bet. I made that a little too big. Let's say 50-50. You know what? We should change this. So this will be a good bet. 50-50 is. Do you want to just go in left or right? Maybe that's better. 50-50. And then we've got there's a chance. And then last one, I think I'll do what if I pick black? Is this black? Okay, yeah, we'll do this for this. Definitely a good bet. 50-50. There's a chance. And then we'll do one more, which is just no evidence. We just like this character. I'm creating this group just to be preemptive for when the Sabo arguments come up. To Tier Trevino, thanks for the 2. If Mori had Conqueror's Haki, would Prime SBAT be Yonko level? I don't I don't know. I don't even know if Moria had Conqueror's Haki. Like, I really have no idea if Moria would have had Conqueror's Haki. I just Moria having Conqueror's Haki, it's just such a far cry from the Moria that we know. I get that he was different back in the day. Prime SBAT, I don't know. It's hard to say. Because here's the tricky thing. So with Conqueror's Haki, what we've seen is that generally, if you have Conqueror's Haki coding, you're pretty much automatically Yonko level to some extent. Except if you're unrefined with it. So Zoro and Yamato, right? They kind of feel like the exceptions to the rule. Because everybody else who has Conqueror's Haki coding, not just Conqueror's Haki, but specifically the coding, like they can use it on their attacks, right? All of those characters can split the sky and do stuff like that, right? All of those characters, you know, Roger, Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom Shanks, Garp, Rox, Herald, these are all characters who, you know, like they're all kind of just immediately Yonko level or something, or higher or whatever with Conqueror's Haki. Then you've got Zoro and Yamato. They're the two exceptions. And the way I kind of view them is, if you remember this, so like Luffy first gets Conqueror's Haki in chapter 1010, or Conqueror's Haki coding in 1010, and he has a good little bout with Kaido after that, but Kaido makes short work of him afterwards, okay? Then Luffy comes back after having eaten some food and having gotten his head around this whole concept a little bit more, I feel. And now when Luffy comes back, now he's able to split the sky with Kaido. And then that was kind of like Luffy's moment where it's like, okay, he's in that category, right? He's a sky splitter, right? Zoro and Yamato, I feel like they're still in the category that Luffy was in before, which is like rough at using Advanced Conqueror's Haki coding. Okay, so like before Luffy came back and split the sky, you know? That's what I feel. Might be completely wrong, but that's what it seems like to me. So I feel like if you have Advanced Conqueror's Haki coding, you're not automatically in the sky splitting group. You might be one step before that. So to me, just because I feel like characters who have advanced Conqueror's Haki coding, generally they're you can assume that they're in the sky splitting group. But some characters, it's like, well, I don't know. Like if Moria had Conqueror's Haki, one, would he know how to use it in combat? Like, would he know how to do the coding? Because that's rare in itself. Like, we know a lot of characters who are Conqueror's Haki users, Katakuri, Doflamingo, Chinjao, who don't know Conqueror's Haki coding, right? So if Moria had it, that's one thing. Two, if he had advanced Conqueror's Haki coding, then would he be like good at using it? Like, would he be in the sky splitting category, or would he kind of be like, you know, just getting the hang of it, like Zoro and Yamato right now? You know, Yamato and Zoro do not have advanced Call of armaments, which is why they can't split the sky. I don't think that's the case because it's pretty much explained that Zoro essentially can use Ryo. That's how he's able to cut Kaido before. You know, he can use advanced armament Haki, and the explanation of how King of Hell and everything works, even against King, it's the same thing. It's pulling the Haki out of his. It's extending the Haki beyond his sword. You know, it's the same shit. Like you can literally see him do the same effect of no touching against King's swords. You know. One Piece fans creating a Haki thesis when the author won't explain his own damn power system. Yeah, it would be nice if we didn't have to guess. Julian Reed, thanks for the two thoughts on Usopp getting the Ratatoskr fruit. Oh, I don't know if he would get the fruit itself. That would mean that I think him temporarily getting to wield the hammer would be really cool, especially because Loki seems like he might be out for a moment. I think that'd be really cool. Ray Uchiha, thanks for the two. Any guess on if Uruj is going to have conquerors? I don't think Uruj, but Oda's surprised me with plenty of characters before. And it seems like some of the supernova that he's been saving, like Bonnie and Uruj, are the more important ones. So, I don't know. Shizer, welcome to the Yonko. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks a lot. Julian Reed says he might be missing a tier in between. I don't know. Like we've kind of just seen characters go from getting the coding and like that immediately gives them a big boost. Like Luffy the first time, Zoro with King of Hell, Yamato, you know? And then the only other tier that we've seen after that is like when Luffy came back for the next round and now he could split the sky. And that's pretty much all we see. Like then that's the group that we kind of just categorize as Yonko level Haki characters. Didn't Scopper explain that Zoro sucks at using his King's Haki? Yeah, he has little to no control over it, from what we can tell. He doesn't even know he's doing it. I like that explanation because it basically explains the entire Luffy fight. Let's get into or not Luffy fight, Lucci fight, sorry. Let's get into this. Alright, definite leads. Alright, definite leads. I feel like I want to put in Dragon, Mihawk. So let's get that out of the way, right? Dragon, Mihawk. I feel like those might be our only two definite leads, you know? Splitting this, Julian Reed says, splitting the sky is more about the strength of your Conqueror's Haki, not if you're a comfortable user. Gaban, Odin, and Rayleigh are not sky splitters, despite being seasoned advanced Conqueror's Haki users. No, because I think that, because Luffy's, JR says, don't miss my super again. Fuck, did I miss it? Hold on, let me catch you, JR. Oh, my bad, my bad. JR, let me get you first, and then I'll get you, Julian Reed. JR182, thanks for the 5, man. You really think if Crossguild gains Gekamoria and he's able to make them an army of shadows / shines, they'll be able to go toe-to-toe with Yonkos? I think it's tricky because I already feel like the arms race is moving up so fast because it's almost like the previous Yonko crew model is becoming outdated very quickly. By that I mean like the previous model was kind of like you've got one Yonko and then 3 commander type characters and then a solid group of officers and then some lower officers and stuff like that, right? Cross Guild is currently kind of trying to catch up just to that model, right? Because right now they've got a Yonko level character in Mihawk, right? Whatever you want to call Mihawk, Yonko, Pirate King. They've got the heavy hitter, let's say that. Then they've got one dude, Crocodile, who, let's just go ahead and assume he's gotten that post time skip buff or whatever, so he's in the commander group, and then that's it. And then they've got no other commanders. They've got no other lower tier officers. Maybe Das Bones is Toby Ropa level or something at this point, so that's about it. And then they've got no other grunt level officers either, right? Again, people severely overestimate Buggy's fleet. Buggy's fleet was about to get crushed by like some fodder Marines, if you all recall. And Crocodile had to come in and solo the Marine fleet for them. So Buggy's fleet is no good fighters. Buggy's fleet, the best combatant he had was Hajrudin. And Hajrudin is like a Mach Feast level character. Anyway, so Crossguild is trying to catch up right now just to what the previous Yonko level sort of was, Yonko crew level. But I would argue that things are already kind of shifting to a more extreme route. I think things are shifting, right? Because the Straw Hat Pirates are already on their path to like pretty soon. Luffy is already like super strong, right? But pretty soon the Strats are gonna have two characters by the end of this arc who are both advanced Conqueror's Haki users, right? So it's gonna have two characters who are basically stronger than any of the first mates, even of other crews. Like they've got two first mate level characters at minimum. And then on top of that, the rest of the Strats are also getting their upgrades. They got Jinbei, they got Souped Up Frankie, they got Black Maria. Like these are all characters who could beat up Toby Ropo all the way back in Wano, and now they're getting stronger in this arc as well, right? So the Strats are already kind of like skyrocketing past what all previous Yonko crews were like. I think the red-haired pirates have been hyped for some time to have their core officers. It's kind of been explained by the Marines are already stronger than most standard Yonko crew officers, right? So already you've got two Yonko crews that are essentially stronger than what standard Yonko crews used to be before, if that makes sense. The Strats haven't even had to use their Grand Fleet just yet, right? And Crossguild is trying to just catch up to what crews like the Big Mom Pirates or the Beast Pirates were like, you know? The Blackbeard Pirates are a fair sort of like weaker group, but then they've got Aokiji. But also the Blackbeard Pirates seem like they're about to take a big step forward. We just don't know how yet exactly. So your bottom line, your question is, and then that's not even getting into comparing to the Revolutionaries and stuff, because the Revolutionaries just have like an embarrassment of riches. They've obviously got Dragon, but then they've got, they've got a ton of commander level characters, right? Like between Sabo, Morley, Karasu, Ivankov, if Kuma ever gets back to normal health, like they've got tons of Yonko commander level characters. Yeah, and then that's not even getting into the Marines and the world government with all the Gods Knights and the Gorosei and now the Seraphim, yada yada. So yeah, bottom line, I think Crossguild is pretty far behind in the race. I think they need some big moves fast. Gaining Gecko Moria, the good thing about Gecko Moria is that he can make a really strong army, like you said. But they would still be lacking in terms of their individual. It would be good in terms of their quantity, but not in terms of like their individual heavy hitters. So it's hard to say. Anyway, continuing on. I think I was responding to Julian Reed. Yeah, splitting the sky is more about the strength of your Conqueror's Haki, not if you're a comfortable user. Gaban, Odin, and Rayleigh are not sky splitters, despite being seasoned advanced Conqueror's Haki users. So the thing is that I disagree with that being true, because we already saw with Luffy and Kaido, right? We already saw like Luffy clashed with Kaido first once he unlocked his Conqueror's Haki, and they didn't split the sky. This was when Luffy was, from my perspective, getting the hang of it, you know? To me, that's the stage that Zoro and Yamato are at right now, okay? So Luffy would clash with Kaido early on. Cool, but not splitting the sky. Luffy got knocked down. He comes back again for a second round, and now he's kind of taken things a step forward and he splits the sky. I don't think Luffy's Conqueror's Haki got stronger between the first attempt and the second attempt. I think you've just got the hang of using it better. As for Gaban, Odin, and Rayleigh, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've never seen any of them clash with another Conqueror's Haki user. Odin clashed with Whitebeard, but that was before Odin kind of that was Odin in his like younger days. That was before he even had Conqueror's Haki coding. It was in the Kaido fight that he had Conqueror's Haki coding. So um, you can only do sky splitting if you clash with another Conqueror's Haki user. Yeah, Gaban, Odin, Rayleigh. I imagine Gaban, Odin, and Rayleigh would be what do you call able to split the sky, especially um, like you just have characters like Whitebeard and Roger very impressed with Odin as a character, so I would assume that he was like he did have top tier Conqueror spirit, and like just like a little example, right? Like when I'm talking about we're talking about this stream, like what are like moments that characters like the type of characters that Oda tends to write having Conqueror's Haki. Just think about moments, right? Odin boiling, right, is an iconic moment that just shows this sort of like it's not just Odin being brave. It's an iconic moment that establishes a sort of next level of resolve, conviction, right? Transcendent willpower, right? That exemplifies like obviously if a character's written like that, they have Conqueror's Haki. There's no question marks about it. It's just like holy shit, look at that. Like it's meant to be a wow moment where you're just wowed by this character's spirit. Okay? That's kind of to me that's the dividing line because if I look at the list of characters who have Conqueror's Haki, they all kind of have moments like that, or they're characters we just haven't gotten to see in those contexts yet. Like for example, Gaban, we haven't really gotten to see him much of him back in the old days. We do know that he clashed with Roger and butted heads with him quite a bit. Rayleigh has just been chilled most of the time that we've seen him, but most characters who have Conqueror's Haki, they've all got some sort of scenes that are just like huge, larger than life displays of will. That's why I'm just like, you know, show me when Sabo does something like that. There are characters like Usopp who've demonstrated stuff like that in a much more impressive manner than Sabo. Um, but yeah, I mean, Rayleigh, I would bet that Rayleigh is a sky splitter for sure. Because I think Oda's even had like in some SBSs, Oda's even talked about how like he's like made some points of comparison about like Shanks and Rayleigh's Conqueror's Haki. Not saying that they're the exact same level or anything like that, but he talks about them in the same breath, kind of like oh yeah, like Luffy's still a scrub Conqueror's Haki user compared to users like Rayleigh and Shanks. And this was early in the time skip, post time skip. But it's just the fact that Oda kind of was using both Shanks and Rayleigh as examples of very strong Conqueror's Haki users suggests to me that Rayleigh would still have, like, he would probably split the sky, I think. Biz Bass, thanks for two. Optimus Prime, Superman, Batman, Captain America. I think they would all have Conqueror's Haki, yeah, if that's what you're saying. Yeah. The Tier Treviso, thanks for the two. What's more likely, Blackbeard or Sabo being a Conqueror's Haki user? I think if Blackbeard has some sort of hidden personality or something, then I could see him being a Conqueror's Haki user. If we're going just by the traits they've displayed so far, Sabo is a million times more likely. But if you have a theory, if it's contingent on like, well, what if there's more to Blackbeard? Like it would be a twist if Blackbeard, because so far he's written as the exact opposite type of character to have Conqueror's Haki. Sniveling, groveling, cowardly in many senses. He does do things that are risks, like he does take risks, but they're all calculated risks that he usually believes has like a higher reward to risk ratio, like and he will turn tail and run at any point where it's like somebody else would kind of just hold their resolve and be brave. Chizzer too again, not that it's just about bravery, but Blackbeard doesn't have moments that show sort of like he's got this sort of like otherworldly strength of spirit. He's got a very sharp brain though, and a very big dream and ambition. Shizer 2, thanks to the 2. Akainu has to have Conqueror's Haki on the way he can't be, or otherwise he can't be a threat. Yeah. Sabo clearly had fear against even the Gorsa. It's just not even about fear. Like, fear doesn't matter in this discussion. Like, it can matter to some degree, because obviously a character that shows a ton of fear consistently, like a Spandam or something, probably isn't a Conqueror's Haki user. But it's more so just like, we're not talking about moments just like, oh, did they stand up against a strong character and take a shot at him? In that case, give every fucking Scabbard Conqueror's Haki. Give Brook Conqueror's Haki. Give, like, there's so many other characters, right? If I were to go through and list, like, Conqueror's Haki users, there would be a consistent moments. Again, like the Odin boiling scene, right? Sanji has a ton of these sort of scenes throughout the series that I talk about in tomorrow's video, right? Zoro, obviously, a ton of those sort of scenes. Luffy has a ton of those sort of scenes, right? Whitebeard, all the fucking Marineford, his final last moments, right? Ace, obviously, there's scenes where it's just like, oh my god, what an insane display of will. He did that as a child, he did it as an adult. That's really seems to be the recurring idea. That's also why I say Wiper is an obvious Conqueror's Haki user. Just the scene where he, like, takes NL's best shot and remains standing and is like, for my ancestors. It's like, okay, obviously fucking Conqueror's Haki user, you know? It's stuff like that. Alright, let's get into it. Yeah, Luffy was scared of Garp. Yeah, you can be scared. I still think Usopp has an argument for Conqueror's Haki, for example. Because to me, it's like, Gaban even talked about how Gaban kind of opened the door in a sense that, like, you can have those traits. They can be buried under other things like uncertainty, low self-esteem, etc. But it's the moments that matter when the sort of otherworldly conviction comes out. Like, Usopp, his whole speech of, like, I won't let you laugh at my friend's dreams, that's a Conqueror's Haki moment. That moment alone is a much stronger display of will than anything Sabo's done in the entire story. Obviously, Sabo has not gotten the screen time Usopp has, but you can point to Usopp, and as cowardly and weak as he is, in the moments where he actually, like, puts his resolve to the test, or, like, you know, moments where his resolve actually comes out, he has moments that are like, that kind of burn into your brain as like, oh my god, what an insane display of conviction, you know? I do think Usopp can get Conquerors, but I think it's less likely for him to be in the same arc as Sanji gets it. Yeah. I think it's interesting because Oda, again, like with Sanji, I don't really talk about this in tomorrow's video, but with Sanji getting it, it always made more, if Usopp's going to get it, it always made more sense for Sanji to get it before Usopp. Oda wasn't going to have Usopp having Conqueror's Haki before Sanji. And then it also made sense that Sanji didn't get it at the same time as Luffy and Zoro, because that's kind of how Oda does things, right? Like, Oda gave Luffy and Zoro their bounties first, and then gave Sanji a bounty later. Oda made Luffy and Zoro supernovas first, didn't include Sanji in the supernova group. None of this is an indictment on Sanji's strength, it's just that for whatever reason, Oda tends to... I think Oda... It's part of how Oda writes the character Sanji. He's in the same group as the Monster Trio, and he will eventually get the same goods that they do. But part of the point is that Sanji can be like a little bit overlooked, or Oda can take a little bit more time before revealing that, yeah, Sanji's going to get this or that as well, you know? So the Conqueror's Haki thing is just, to me, a continuation of the trend that Oda's already been doing with, like, the bounties, the worst generation supernova stuff, like, etc. Anyway. Stixie, thanks for the 5. I don't think Sabo has had a chance to display that one way or another. If he did against Emu, Oda would have to kill him off. If he did against Emu, Oda would have had to kill him off. Flame Emperor, though. Yeah, I mean, I think that falls under the category of no evidence, you know? No evidence, we just like this character, you know? That's all. Like, that's my only thing with Sabo, which is just like, for every other character, you can make an argument for, like, even for characters like Garling, right? It's like, well, the argument is just all the other fucking Gorosei have it. Therefore, it's more likely than not that Garling's going to have it, especially as Garling's being portrayed as stronger than the other Gorosei, right? Like, for every character, there's some argument, evidence-wise. Like, I'm going to go ahead and put Shamrock. Why? Because Shamrock is Shanks' twin, and therefore has the same genes, will likely have Conqueror's Haki, you know? Just by virtue of, you know, the way Conqueror's Haki has been explained to us, right? that's my only thing with Sabo, which is like I wish people would bring evidence for him rather than it's just it falls under there's no evidence, we just like this character. Because the argument that you just put forward explains like why it's not why you can't disprove that Sanji has conquered or Sabo will have conquered Haki. I might be mixing up Sabo and Sanji here in my last couple sentences. Sabo, right? You're putting forward an argument of like, well, you can't disprove that Sabo will have conquered Haki because we haven't seen that much of it. That's totally fine and fair. But you would need to then make the. I'm not looking for that sort of argument of like, well, you can't prove he doesn't have it. That's fair. But you need to make the argument for why he would have it. So, what is the evidence for Mihawk? You, what? One, it's pretty much already explained that to be the world's strongest sword in Zoro and King's conversation, it's pretty much already explained that like somebody who aims to be the world's strongest swordsman and is on the path to that would naturally have the the disposition of a king, right? It's kind of like it's basically spelled out for us that world's strongest swordsman, duh, that's Conqueror's Haki, right? So that's one, but then two, the story straight up doesn't make sense if Mihawk doesn't have Conqueror's Haki. You can't. How would he beat anyone? He would just lose to all other swordsmen at the top who do have. He then automatically loses to Shanks, Big Mom, anybody that is a swordsman that has fucking Conqueror's Haki. Venus Juro, he just loses. You can't beat Conqueror's Haki with just Conqueror's Haki coding with just armament Haki. That's not a thing that's possible. It's Vista. There is that argument. I don't know. Missed my super chat. Sorry, Julian. Hold on. Oh, my bad, my bad. Julian Reed, thanks for the two. Frankie for Conqueror's Haki user. Also, Momo definitely gets it. I don't know about Momonosuke. Again, I don't think it's just like, oh, brave means you get Conqueror's Haki, you know? He already loses to Shanks. Even for him to have a duel with Shanks, he can't have a duel if Shanks is using. Unless you think Shanks didn't use Conqueror's Haki in their duel. I don't know. Saba's basically confirmed Conqueror. Anything else is just cope. Where's the evidence? What's the evidence? What is the evidence for Sabo having Conqueror's Haki? What's the evidence? What's the evidence? I need an argument beyond we just like Sabo, because that's what it sounds like, you know? The evidence for Sabo getting Conquerors is Various position for the endgame of the series. He's undeniably got narrative importance, he has the status, etc. So then, is Vivi getting Conqueror's Haki? You don't need evidence, it's so obvious. Okay, this is... Alright, so you essentially verbatim... I put this up as a joke, but you verbatim essentially are saying this. Okay, so give... This is... No, you don't need evidence. It's just so obvious. Parentheses, because we heart Sabo. No evidence. We just like. Come on, guys. Come on, come on. At least make this difficult. All right, Sabo. He stays here until somebody gives me some evidence. Bad faith, Morge. I literally can't have an argument in good faith or bad faith with you guys unless you give me an argument. You need to give me evidence. You need to give something. As chief of staff and number 2 of the Revolutionary Army, he holds immense authority, charisma, and a massive following, which are the classic traits of a conqueror. No, they're not. What? Where is a massive following? What are you talking about? Immense authority? So then every fucking world government king? Like, where is this? What the fuck? And in what world is being the number 2 of anything automatic conquerors Haki? That's only been the case for Luffy's crew and Roger's crew. In every other fucking crew, being not like any other fucking Yonko crew, right? Being number 2 doesn't mean jack shit in terms of whether you have Conqueror's Haki or not. In fact, it's really just Katakuri that's a confirmed Conqueror's Haki user, and that's because he's Big Mom's kid, not someone that she like hired. ChatGPT has answered. That's what it sounds like. Isn't Lafayette also chief of staff? Well, yeah. Why not give... I don't get it. Why can't you guys give a scene? Like, do you not see the problem here? Why can't you give a scene or, like, character traits? You're just saying stuff like, well, he has this role, right? Like, with Akainu, I also think Akainu, Fleet Admiral and stuff, could play into Conqueror's Haki because he may have to fight Luffy, right? That's the only reason I give Akainu's position any sort of weight, just because he might end up fighting Luffy, and you can't fight Luffy at this point, and in the final war unless you have Conqueror's Haki, right? But with Akainu, there's a ton of character stuff that is also shown that it's like, yeah, this dude seems character-wise like he would have Conqueror's Haki, you know? Big brain time. Put King on here because his name is King. I mean, that's low-key the same logic people are using with fucking Sabu's the Flame Emperor or whatever. Flame Emperor is not a real thing. Oh my god. Aura is enough evidence, Lord, to stop hating. I don't think Sabu has aura like that. I don't think Sabu's got aura. Like, I don't think there's any scene where it's just like, damn, Sabu's got like Conqueror's Haki type aura. Blake Nielsen says, fuck you, Moj, you're arguing with yourself. Because you guys aren't putting out arguments. If you put out arguments, I'd have something to argue against. But the arguments are basically just like, no, he should have it. Why? Because we like this character. I'm going to put Shamrock. I'm going to put Garley. Where do we want to put Akainu? Akainu literally fought Whitebeard without fear. Yeah, I think Akainu, there's just so much stuff. He also is butting heads with the Gorosei and doesn't want to obey them. Akainu just feels like he's got that sort of persona that fits it. But here, I'll put it in the a good... I'm not going to put Akainu indefinitely, but I'll say a good bet, 50-50. I think no matter what, there's a chance. Do you think it's a good bet or not? I don't think you can say Akainu's 100%. Stixie, thanks for the 5. As for specific needs, saying he'd abandon his role for Luffy's sake should be a fine answer. Repeatedly running the ones with high world government should be fine. Specific needs, saying he'd abandon his role for Luffy's sake. Why is that? That's not. Why is that Conqueror's Haki? What is that? What? What? How is that Conqueror's Haki? All the Straw Hats have Conqueror's Haki then. Repeatedly running the ones with high world government should be fine. Okay, so Morley and Karasu also have Conqueror's Haki? Does Dragon exclusively have Conqueror's Haki members? Marco should have Conqueror's Haki then too, because Marco has taken on way more high-level opponents than Sabo one-on-one. Like, what? Marco took on Kizaru solo. Akainu with help. Aokiji. Big Mom in a 1v2 solo. King and Queen at the same time. And then Kaido to top it off again. Tell me Marco has Conqueror's Haki. What is the big scene that indicates that Sabo is written with sort of transcendental will? That's all. What is the big scene that's shown that he's got that sort of larger-than-life spirit? You know? I don't know. Okay, people are saying a good bet. Let's say Saul is just to definitely, just to piss Morge off. Okay, a Kainu, good bet. I don't think you can put a Kainu indefinitely. I think definitely is too far. Sanji, 100%. I mean, there's no point in even putting Sanji. Yeah, we can. He's there. Oh, whoops. You know, he's in there. 50-50. Shamrock, Garling, Akainu. Who are some 50-50s? I think Kobe's a good bet, right? Do you think Kobe's a good bet or 50-50? The Lowman 123 thanks to the two Green Bull pulling up on water by himself. I think his reaction. That's because he thought it would be easy pickings. I think his reaction with Shanks kind of disqualifies him. Ray Chia thanks to the two. Could we put my guys from the Saruyama Alliance in 50-50? I don't like those guys. I mean, I don't dislike them, but you know what's funny? It's because I did that video recently on the biggest weakness of each One Piece arc, and that's when I remembered. I think the Saruyama Alliance. I think those are two of the weaker side characters Oda's ever put out in an arc, because like lots of times Oda nails it. Johnny Yosaku, Chimney Gonbe. I think in later years Oda's been fumbling a bit with some side characters just because he writes too many in an arc. But the Saruyama Alliance was back before that was a problem. So I feel like the Saruyama Alliance was a rare case of just like Oda tried to do his quirky, lovable side characters, but they just. I feel like they're just. Maybe people in chat love them, but I think a lot of you probably don't even remember their names without Googling. You know, I just think that they're not. I think, especially in the anime, the problem is that they slowed down the story a lot in the sense that they both were kind of especially in the anime. There's like full episodes dedicated to dealing with Mashira and then with Shoujo, and it's just like this isn't fun. This isn't like aha Johnny and Yusaku giving us a lot of comedy. They give us some comedy, but it's kind of like these guys are obstacles to moving the story along. Okay, people think Kobe's under a good bet. I would put him under a good bet as well. Julian Reed, thanks for the two. Do you think Honesty Impact was an advanced Conqueror Haki tech? I think so. And I mean, I think with Kobe, there's clear examples of Conqueror's Haki moments. Like Kobe's, one of the most iconic moments in the story is Kobe and Akainu, right? A few seconds of courage. Like that is a moment where you're showing larger than life. Like it's a big scene that Oda's writing that exemplifies Kobe's spirit, you know? Very curious on Ben Beckman. People want to put Momonosuke. We could put Momonosuke. I'd be happy to put Aokiji into There's a Chance, but he definitely has not shown it yet, you know? Let's get Streamlights up to 100 real quick. Let's get Streamlights up to 100. Aokiji canonically did not use it against Garp because it is not. It is outright established in the Vivre card that he has not shown Conqueror's Haki yet. When Oda shows a character using a new type of Haki, it gets added to the Vivre card. Like Garp, it only listed armament, I believe, before Egghead. Then after Egghead, Oda wrote in Conqueror's Haki on the Vivre cards as well. He did not give Aokiji that treatment. Julian Reed, thanks for the two. Can you put Frankie and Sabo tier because he's my goat? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I think Ben Beckman's a good 50-50. Let's put him in the 50-50. I think Ben Beckman's a good 50-50. I think Law deserves something here as well. I don't know where. I mean, to me, Law's shown, and I don't even, you know my feelings on Law. Um, Crocodile, yeah. Let's make a little word bank over here. Let's make a little word bank. All right. Uh, Possibilities. Law, Crocodile. Fucking, we can put Moria. Usopp, Aokiji, Kuzan. Sorry. Law has no evidence. I hate Law as much as the next person. Don't hate Law. I think arguably, I think the scene where Doflamingo gives him an option to live or something like that, or something. Um, I think the scene where Law basically flips off Doflamingo and it's just like, go fuck yourself when Doflamingo gives him an ultimatum. I think that could be argued as Conqueror's Haki behavior. Um, I think Law has an argument. Kizaru is literally a self-professed cog in the wheel. More chilling on the Law hate. What happened to the man I loved? I'm trying to be objective because, like, again, this whole Sanji situation, I already felt for some time that Sanji could have Conqueror's Haki. I've said that since I dropped the first video on my take on it, and I've thought about it more and more since then. Okay, to me, I now go through the series. I'm like, okay, there's clear scenes in the story. It's like this is how a conqueror would act. It's just that it comes out with for Sanji in different contexts. So basically, I've had to open up my mind and be like, okay, the behavior of conquerors is consistent, but different conquerors users display that in different contexts. Does that make sense? So, like, interestingly, a lot of I want to save this for a separate video, even, but you'll get some of it in Sanji's video. Um, a lot of characters who are conquerors, they have. I was trying to simplify it for too long in terms of like a singular sort of thing, like oh, conquerors don't run or stuff. But you can always find exceptions. What it is with Conqueror's Haki users is that there's a general behavior among them that you can often see, but it's not absolutely consistent. But they all have every Conqueror's Haki user who we get to see in depth, like a lot of screen time of, um, outside of the old geezers who are kind of just there as like Yodas and don't engage much in the plot of the story, right? They all have like individual areas wherein their larger than life will sort of comes out, right? So with Shanks, he says it in chapter 1. You can do this, you can do this, you can do this, and I won't mind. But if you harm my friends, it's over. And that's where you see Shanks' like absolute larger than life Haki come out. With Whitebeard, it's you can do this, you can do this, it's fine, but if you touch my family, it's over for you. With Ace, he refuses to run or back down, right? With Zoro, it's a lot of scenarios that are related to his ambition or his dream. He has other moments like that, but a lot of it is that, right? A lot of Conqueror's Haki users, you see their sort of larger than life will come out in specific contexts where they have these crazy big scenes that are like, oh my god damn, right? Usopp also has those, for example, and it's usually when it comes down to stuff like his friends or his friend's dream or like his loyalty to Luffy, things like that. Actually, you know, so that's why I think Usopp still has the potential. Kobe, right? Kobe, you know, part of the reason his whole thing is honesty impact is because with Kobe, from day one, the Alvida scenario, the Kainu scenario, where Kobe's conqueror spirit comes out, tends to be in these moments where he makes these big stands for what's morally right. And he'll put his life on the line and he'll give up his life even just for the principle of speaking what is the truth on his mind. You know? That's what is kind of missing with Sabo. Okay? I don't see that. With Law, he's had a moment, you know? I don't know how to define him exactly, but the Doflamingo scene is pretty impressive. Big Mom, as stupid as it sounds, it's fucking sweets. It's fucking sweets, and she will not back down when she's got fucking hunger pangs. You know, as stupid as it sounds, there is a consistency to Conqueror's Haki users. You know, let's get stream likes up to 75 real quick. Shanks doesn't have Conqueror's Haki. He uses Roger's Haki dots. That would actually be really fucking funny. Smoker? Sure, I'll put in Smoker. Katakuri was a sense of honor. You know, like he did not want any interference in a man's duel or whatever, you know? Odin doesn't back down when it comes to being a dumbass. Yeah. You've got all the stupidest options, you know. Sanji's women. Sanji's is a little bit more comprehensive, but again, you'll see in tomorrow's video. It's not just women, it's a bit more comprehensive than that, but that is a big sticking point. Montblanc Nolan, we're never going to get confirmation or not, so there's no point putting it. Same with Wiper. All right, let's start going through these options. Law. I don't think Law makes sense for definitely, but I'll say 50-50. There's a good bet, 50-50. There's a chance. No evidence. We just like this. Oh, Blackbeard. Fucking duh. Let me put Blackbeard down. A lot of Conqueror's Haki users in One Piece are extremely stupid. Yeah, I'll say this forever. One Piece values, because it's kind of like, I think it's Oda's own values translated a little bit. Oda values, he's a feelings over logic writer. He's a feelings over logic writer, and he values big displays of like morality and virtue and nobility over logic. He's kind of like the reverse Togashi. Togashi, he writes tons of characters that are very, very, almost overly logical, you could say, in that, like, you know, people joke about the many, many pages of text in Hunter x Hunter. Some points are fair critiques, other points are not, but some of the areas that are fair critiques are like every character. It can be a little irritating when every character in Hunter x Hunter thinks kind of the same. It can feel like it's not like characterization. It feels like Togashi himself is just thinking out loud through this character, you know, because they all follow similar sort of like, except for Gon, they like to deeply analyze every subject, every scenario, go through all of the options and topics, etc. But it's good. It makes for like a generally logical. It's rare that you can be like, oh, in Hunter x Hunter, this thing doesn't make sense, or this thing feels like stupid plot-wise, or something like that. You know? Yeah. Different authors value different things, and a lot of it comes from who they are as people. Like Togashi values, it seems like, characters' logical thinking in most scenarios. Oda views logic as sometimes like in a speed bump or an impediment to writing just a really good feel-good scene. I'm not putting fucking. Oh, I could put Yarrow. I could put fucking. I'm not putting fucking Hadruden. But Hadruden's Makvi scene was really impressive. I can't lie, it was pretty impressive. Julian Reed 6030, thanks for the 5. Consider a Viver argument against Kuzan. Why hasn't Kobe's Viver card updated to show him as a Conqueror if Honesty Impact was Advanced Conqueror's Haki? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just Advanced Color of Armaments. To me, that one's like, what do you call? I put out a whole video when it first came out. I don't think the lightning effects were... My take with the Kobe thing is that what he did against Pika, it fits with what we've seen Color of Armaments be able to do in the past. Because we've seen Color of Armaments do, what do you call? Not Pika against Zavala Pizarro, but Pika's an example, right? Because we've seen with just Color of Armaments, we saw what Zoro could do to Pika, we've seen with just what Color of Armaments, what Chinjao could do to Pika, we've seen what Luffy could do to Pika. So you can do a lot with just Color of Armaments. Even Sabo, you know, he blew up the Colosseum ring with just Color of Armaments. So you can do large-scale damage with that. I also think for really scaling, like, streaks and stuff like that, I don't know if Kobe had Conqueror's Haki streaks coming out, you know? I also feel like it would be commented on, possibly, if Garp saw Kobe doing Conqueror's Haki. So I don't know. Uh, yeah, if you want consistency, then I'd say no. I don't think Kobe's definitively shown. I don't think Kobe's shown Conqueror's Haki either yet. If that was just regular Haki, Kobe is a god. Again, Luffy did the, or sorry, Zoro did the same against Pika. Chinja's shown similar stuff. Um, I feel like Sabo could do the same thing with just armament. Ujo5, thanks for two. So Gaban saw Sanji's advanced Conqueror's Haki, but Garp missed Luffy's. Uh, I don't know what to say there. No, actually, no. I don't think Garp missed Luffy's because we just have to look at what Gaban said. Like Gaban didn't even say that Sanji. We know as the reader that it's basically confirmed that Sanji's going to have it, right? Because that's just storytelling wise. You wouldn't have Gaban say those lines if Sanji ended up not getting it. Gaban doesn't say. Gaban just says you have the traits of one who might. That's all Gaban says, right? Um, he just says you have the traits of one who might. So you can't really know until they show you. So Garp probably thought for a while that Luffy probably had the traits of someone who would have it, but it's not like Garp could have known. Gaban can only tell with Zoro because Zoro's literally leaking it, you know? We know Sanji's gonna have it, just narrative wise, but it's not like Gaban magically just knows that Sanji has it. The Lowman 123, thanks for the 5. Oda said Kuzan isn't the type to just blindly follow orders, and the same thing was said about Zoro, who ended up having Conquerors. Did Oda say that? That's my bad. If Oda said that about Kuzan, then I'm putting him into at least a good bet. I'm putting him into a good bet. Shinjao is a confirmed Conquerors user? Yeah, but he's not an advanced Conquerors Haki user. Otherwise, he would have zero diff Luffy in their fight in the Colosseum, and then zero diff Lao Ji, right? Shinjao at the time of Dressrosa was just using color of armaments. Taptio says, didn't Kuzan literally follow orders at Ohara? Yeah, but you could make the argument that that was the start of his character growth, right? It's the same, like, characters don't have to have Conqueror's Haki traits. Like, they don't have to, how do I say it? Like, they can have change. Like, Sanji's a good example of that, you know? As long as you have that core potential in you from the start, it can come out over time, you know? So Aokiji could have been born with that, but kind of just went along with what the Marines did for some time, but now he's finally on a path where that could come out, you know? Kiban saw Zoro's cock leaking? Yeah, basically. Alright, there's a chance. There's a chance. So we're saying with Law there's a chance. Alright. Oh, I just wrote there's a chance. Law. Crocodile. Hadruden, King of All Giants. Blackbeard, Momonosuke, Ryuma, Man with the Burn Scar. Usopp, Don, Sai, son of Don Chinjao. His move, Drill Dragon. Drill Nail becomes Conqueror's Haki. Hadruden, I just can't put Hadruden. He just seems so weak. I feel like Oda. I don't know. I don't know. Anime Dimension, thank you for bringing my Pirate King to your member for 44 months, man. By the way, please make sure to get your Pirate King podcast in now because I will be recording very, very soon. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, the Pirate King podcast is a once a month podcast for the Pirate King tier members, and it's for Patreon and for YouTube members. You can ask any question you like about One Piece, other anime, manga, movies, TV shows, whatever, and I answer it in far greater depth than I do on streams because I have more time. The podcast, everybody's questions get answered, and it's usually about an hour and a half. And if you want to support, you can still get your question in for the podcast before I record, and you get access to all previous podcasts, which are like 40 of them. Oh fuck, Weevil. We might have to start. You know what? We might have to start moving a little bit faster. I don't know if I can do polls for all of these. Weevil, Buggy. Fuck it. Here, I'll put in our Druden. Do you have to be born with Conquerors? No shot. I think you have to. I think it's pretty plainly established you have to be born with it. Didn't you say Baby Loki could load if a Druden? I think there's a shot. Why? Never mind Loki. Loki already used it now. I think Loki's a confirmed Conqueror's Haki user. I don't think Nami's ever being written as a Conqueror's Haki user. Fine, I'll put Momonosuke. But here I'm gonna go ahead and put in characters that I think are really outside shots, right? Not outside shots, but who I don't think are likely, but I will acknowledge there's a chance. Momonosuke, I'll say Buggy, I'll say Hadrud. Let's start with that. I would argue Jarl is, in my opinion, I think Jarl is a good bet. Do you think Jarl is a good bet? I mean, he's the strongest giant, like, just going off of the previous giant kings, right? Like, or the strongest of Elbath, right? He was just the guy before Harold. Loki conquers Haki user. Harold conquers Haki user. I feel like Jarl's likely to have it, right? Kong. Yeah, we can put in Kong. Kid's a confirmed conquers Haki user. Yeah, Jarl's a good bet, right? Are people upset if I put Jarl in there? All right, let's do Crocodile. I'm gonna change a good bet to more likely than not. I'll say no. I'll just say a good bet. I'll say a good bet. Yeah, keep it simple. A lot of split on Crocodile. I think the split tells me that we should be putting him in 50-50. Yeah, this is solid. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Crocodile's a solid example of a 50-50 character. Moria, I want to just put in there's a chance. Like, I just don't know. I don't think he's like a 50-50 personally. Usopp, I think Usopp's I think Usopp's got a chance. Whether you think he's like 50-50 or higher is up to you. Bonnie, let me put Bonnie in. Momo did more at 8 than Luffy did at 10. I just don't think that. I think age is not the best way to look at it, personally. Characters progress at different rates. Okay, it looks like with Usopp, it's coalescing around, like, because the curve basically puts it at 50-50, you know? People are pretty split down the middle. Yeah, Usopp's going in 50-50. Aokiji. I got Bonnie in the list. Don't worry. Do more people say Kuzan nowadays or Aokiji? I'll always say Aokiji first. Feast of hot shakes to travel to a draw. Tom Tom, thanks for being a Pirate King or a Yonko tier member for 45 months, man. Figarland Redbeard, can we do a stream looking back at some of the best community memes slash inside jokes like Hockey Man, Silhouette Man, Bin Smoke Romeo, etc.? We could do that. We could do that. Yeah, we could do that. The One Piece community will always have really, really good ones because there's so many agendas and things like that. It will always be, yeah. I just don't think there's evidence for Nami. I think even if we're looking among the weak Straw Hats, Nami doesn't really have like Usopp has scenes that are I don't know. I think Usopp has scenes that feel like a Conqueror's Haki type scene. I think Nami just has scenes that feel like brave, if that makes sense. Even the closest point of comparison, which was Nami saying the defending Luffy's dream, just like Usopp defended Luffy's dream. Even if you compare those two scenes 1 to 1, like Usopp's scene was way more intense in the sense like Usopp's scene, he was actually being like literally smashed through walls, his skull was being broken and stuff like that, and then despite all that, he's getting back up and still saying it. Nami had taken a little damage, but it wasn't like she was being. It was still impressive, but I just don't know if it's like Conqueror's Haki. And I think that's the closest scene I can think of to that. Standing up to Ulti, but every Straw Hat has stood up to some character in some manner at some point, you know? Like I'm saying like what are the really big scenes that feel like extreme displays? To me it's like Usopp's moment of saying, I won't let you laugh at Luffy's dream. If you just go back and reread that scene and see the punishment that he's going through in the process and the manner in which the scene is written and portrayed, because a lot of it is how Oda's trying to portray the character, um, I see an argument for Usopp. I just don't think Nami really has scenes like that. If he does, I feel like them characters like Robin and such have those scenes as well. Nami didn't know Marco would save her from Kaido when she was yelling, but lots of characters risk their lives. Vivi should have Conqueror's Haki then. Like, it's not. That falls under the. Like, you need something. To me, you need a bigger display. Like, you need to do stuff that it's like, whoa, that's something really unique that I have. That Oda hasn't written a scene like that for another character. And it's meant to be a big, dramatic sort of scene, you know? Might as well give it to Chopper for Skypiea. That's the thing. Like, yeah. Nami took Haki headbutts. I don't even know if she did. Didn't Usopp take Haki headbutts? I thought Oda stopped before Ulti could even give Nami a Haki headbutt. Like, even in the scene where Nami does the same thing as Usopp did back then, I think in that scene, Usopp is the one who's given the Haki headbutt, and then Nami is just threatened with getting a Haki headbutt. Aokiji. Okay, we're going to put Aokiji into 50-50. I think the 10-day duel is good evidence. I think that's like an example. That's like a wow, you know. That's like intense, intense will, you know. Smoker. One of my old favorite characters. I wish. Yeah. If you look back, I think Smoker. I don't know. I wish that. Yeah, pre-time skip me. A lot of my favorite characters back then, I didn't realize how they'd be written later on. So, like, again, I've said this multiple times. I used to be a Mihawk fan, not a Shanks fan. I don't even know if I'm a Shanks fan. It's just when it comes to the debate, it's whatever. Um, it's harder for me to be a Mihawk fan now just because he's not been written with anything post time skip for hundreds of chapters, right? I might swing back to being a Mihawk fan the more he gets. But pre-time skip, Mihawk was one of my favorite characters. He was probably my favorite. He was, I wouldn't say favorite, but he was probably the side character that I was most excited to see more of. And then Smoker would probably be the next one on that list. But now I don't have either of them in my favorite One Piece side characters, probably. Yeah, I would lean towards no evidence. He's just cool. Blackbeard. Blackbeard, I might not abide by the rules of the poll. This might be a me decision, but I'll give it to you guys anyway just to see. With Blackbeard for myself, I would put him in 50-50. I would put him in 50-50. It's very dependent to me if there's some other personality or other side of him that he's been hiding. Miyaku's more his favorite aura farmer. Well, you got to remember, like pre-time skip, all these characters that are really popular nowadays, right? Like pre-time skip, the rule was we pretty much exclusively like the way the story worked. Pre-time skip was the only cast of characters that we are regularly following are the Straw Hats. Okay, so we're just following the Straw Hats, and they're going from island to island. And at each island, you're meeting a set of side characters, and you're getting to know them very well. But they're only going to last one arc, so they're very temporary figures, right? All the long-running side characters, right? The long-running side characters, pre-time skip, we actually didn't get to meet them too frequently. So interestingly, pre-time skip, a lot of the characters that are, people thought were really cool back then, Kuma, Doflamingo, the Admirals, Shanks, Mihawk, right? Ace, Blackbeard. In all of pre-time skip until Marineford, like this before Marineford, in all of pre-time skip, those first 500 chapters of the story, we actually only would get like about 1 to 2 scenes of these characters, like or very limited screen time. Like Shanks, for as big of a character as he is in the story, if you look throughout pre-time skip, he only shows up like chapter 1, and then he shows up for a few pages, like a handful of pages in a few other chapters in the pre-time skip. That's it, right? So same thing with like Akuma. Same thing with like they a lot of these characters like Kuma, like Aokiji, they would show up for one very memorable sort of scene, and then you don't see them again. Marineford was the first time it was like, oh, the gang's all here. All of these characters we've been getting individual scenes of throughout the pre-time skip that are all kind of put into one spot, right? So that was what Marineford was. But beyond that, it was kind of like, well, Dragon got his special chapter in chapter 100. Shanks got his special chapter in chapter 1, and then he shows up again one more time with the whole Whitebeard sky split scene. Ace, he really just shows up at the start of Alabasta, and then you don't see him again until the Blackbeard duel, right? Mihawk, his big scene pre-time skip was the Zoro scene, and then after that, you're not really seeing him much, right? So pre-time skip, we see a lot of these really cool characters, but Oda writes it such that you get these brief, really cool characters, they're dropped on us, you get one really iconic scene out of them, and then you're not going to see them again for a long, long time, right? So pre-time skip was just like glimpses, like really cool glimpses of who these characters are. So the way you're kind of like the way people are kind of picking their favorite characters was just based off of it was usually just like you get one really good scene to introduce like, oh, Aokiji's this really cool character. Cool, this guy's my guy now, or something like that. And then yeah, you get him in the horror flashback, and he'll make a little appearance at the end of any lobby, and then that's it, right? Like that's we're not seeing Aokiji for like tons of chapters pre-time skip, right? So the long way of saying this is that pre-time skip, a lot of people's favorite side characters in the story were based off of 1 to 2 scenes that left an impression on you. And it was like which side character kind of left the best impression on you from 1 or 2 memorable scenes that they get, right? It's not like we're spending a ton of time with them or getting to know them in great detail. Okay, so yeah, that's my long-winded way of saying basically like my favorite characters, side characters, or the side characters I was most interested in pre-time skip are not necessarily the same as now in post-time skip, where we are finally actually getting to know a lot of these characters. We're getting backstories for characters like Dragon, you know? We're learning about Shanks' past. We're learning about a lot of these characters. So during that period of time, it's been harder to, like, pre-time skip, it was like, okay, out of all these side characters we've seen, Mihawk seems the coolest to me. That is until Marineford, where he didn't really show out or anything like that. But then in post time skip, we've just gotten to know a lot of these other characters a lot better, like a Dragon, like a Shanks, like a Garp. So now it's kind of like, well, I'm waiting for Mihawk to get some more writing, like even like Kizaru and Aokiji and stuff have been getting, you know? Okay, Blackbeard, people are saying a good bet. I'm going to go ahead and put him in 50-50. Because I think the 50-50 is just, is the point that Blackbeard just becomes OP by eating fruits, and it's supposed to be like the idea that Luffy's Haki, like, is it supposed to be a thematic point that Blackbeard, you know, as scheming and conniving as he is, he ultimately lacks the traits of conquerors, and that's kind of his undoing in the end? Or is Blackbeard also set to expand our understanding of who gets conquerors or not? Conqueror's Haki being a requirement to be top tier would be trash writing, to be honest? I don't think so. I think it reflects One Piece's themes pretty well. Which is just that I think it's actually very good writing for One Piece personally. Which is just that it's a world about like dreams, yes, but the strength of will behind the person, right? Who has that dream, right? So characters with the strong, like the theme of One Piece is like any where there's a will, there's a way. That's kind of the idea of One Piece, right? It would kind of be bad writing, in my opinion, if characters who don't have, you know, the strongest wills could also be top tier. I think it's consistent writing in the story that at a certain point, having a devil fruit or being skilled at armament or observation isn't going to cut it. It's like, do you have the the will to move the world, to make the world bow to you, in a sense, right? And it's a series. Like Chinja even explains it. Like the fight for the One Piece is basically like you're bringing together all these characters who have the will of the king, like the this otherworldly will, like the most driven, most strong-willed characters in existence. They're all collecting at the top, and you have to somehow push even beyond all of them and separate yourself from the pack in order to become, you know, the king. Like again, it goes to Kaido's speech, right? Haki transcends all. That's a good theme for the story, you know. It's a trash writing if it's inherited. I think that to me that's an area that Oda just didn't really think through that well. Inherited in the sense that like I don't think it's literally I don't know if he's thought through it that well. I think it's more so the idea is that it's supposed to be intrinsic. Like having that sort of will isn't something that can be taught. You're just somebody uh who has that sort of like drive or you don't. And I like that sort of idea because I think that that is reflected in the real world as well, you know? Tio Treviso, thanks to the two, strongest a character without Conqueror's Haki can be. I mean, I think the only way you can be. I could talk about characters so far in the story, or I could talk about like potential. I think the more you. I think if you have the ability to stack fruits, right? If you have the ability to stack fruits, then I think at a certain point there's some combination of fruits that's just too broken for even Haki to beat, maybe. Or you can get really, really high up there. I don't know, like Yonko Pirate King plus level or something like that. Okay. So I think there's a hypothetical really high ceiling if you're able to eat multiple fruits, like Blackbeard. Okay. If we take that out of the equation, then with the standard track, to me, probably the strongest character that we've seen who does not the strongest we've seen without Conqueror's Haki, I think, is Akainu. Because even if Akainu has Conqueror's Haki, I think he would have had to have awakened that post time skip. Like he clearly was not written having Conqueror's Haki pre time skip, right? So I think Akainu kind of showed the peak that you can be at with just uh, a really strong fruit, being really, really tough, I guess, in general or whatever, having armament, having like extreme mastery of armament. It seemed like a kind of also had future sight based on some of the things that he did against Marco and Vista, you know. So I think Akainu is a good example of maxing out just your normal abilities, right? If you want to go a step further and be like, well, Akainu shouldn't count because he is a character that at least has the potential, like he might be a Conqueror's Haki user. And if we want to say just like straight up, somebody who just is not built different, right? Then I would say maybe Kizaru is the peak of what we've seen of a character who just does not have the potential for Conqueror's Haki, is just basically a normal dude who got really good at fighting, armament, presumably observation, and has a really good fruit. That's my take right now. Maybe there's some other examples. I think it's made pretty clear over and over that like Conquerors is something that you're born with. Um, Weevil. Weevil, I'm just going to say 50-50 or there's a chance, right? Or I guess I'll add another option. I guess I'll add a good bet. I don't know. Weevil, I'll even add a no. No evidence. I think with Weevil, the only point of comparison is the Whitebeard comment, but I just don't know if he'd be a Conqueror's Haki user. Dr. Farewell says, Moji missed my super. My bad, man. Thanks for the 5 man. Big News Morgan's king of media / information that he can manipulate the world as he pleases and will never back down on stories from threats or bribes. I will go ahead and put. Here, you want me to put him in no evidence? We're just putting random characters in there at that point, though. As strong as young Whitebeard means Conqueror's user to me. It could be before Whitebeard started using Conqueror's Haki. You know, we don't know what age Whitebeard really displayed it. Colin is definitely a Conqueror. Oh, I'll put Colin. Yeah, I think Colin could. I'll put him. I'll put him here. I'm not gonna say definitely or anything. Weevil. I'll put Weevil in. There's a chance, especially if Weevil actually is a Whitebeard clone. Possibilities Kong. I don't think Kong. Kong to me just did not seem like a Conqueror's Haki dude the way that Garp was talking down to him in the God Valley flashback. I could put him in There's a Chance, but I just don't think Kong is it. I'd say 50-50 or There's a Chance or no evidence. You know the funny everyone and their mom now is a Conqueror Haki user. You know what the funny thing to me now is that like it's a step further in that everybody now it's the way it's being written now is that everybody who is now being introduced as a Conqueror's Haki user is also just able to use it for coding, like Conqueror's Haki coding. But before Wano, like nobody was fucking using it for coding outside of Yonko level characters, right? So like before Wano, you had so many characters who were Conqueror's Haki users, like Doflamingo, Boa Hancock, Chinjiao, Katakuri. Like we met lots of Conqueror's Haki users, and it was just seemed like a flex. It wasn't even implied that it could be used for combat, right? But then as soon as Luffy and Zoro start using it in combat, like they learn Conqueror's Haki coding, now anytime a new character is shown awakening Conqueror's Haki, or like just using, like now Yamato just can use advanced Conqueror's Haki coding. Now it feels like whoever, like Sanji, is about to, in the same arc, probably awaken Conqueror's Haki and learn the coding for it, right? Which is crazy because he doesn't even do advanced armament Haki yet. Like he doesn't do Rio or anything like that, right? So yeah, it's just interesting that now it's kind of like Oda's just jumping the step of like, oh, if you get Conquerors now, you just learn how to use it automatically with advanced coding, and it's like, well, if it's that easy, then why not have like Kid, Katakuri, Doflamingo? Like there's a long list of characters who had Conqueror's Haki, but they kind of missed the boat on. They were introduced with it too early in the story, so Oda just didn't give them the coding part of it as well. You know? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put Kong in no evidence. Okay. The new units are too strong. The meta's broken. Yeah. Yeah, before having Conqueror's Haki just meant, okay, you've got Conqueror's Haki. Now, if a character is introduced with having Conqueror's Haki, it's kind of just assumed that they will also be given the coding, you know? Like, when we're questioning, like, oh, is Akainu going to awaken Conqueror's Haki or not? It's just kind of a given that if Oda's going to give Akainu Conqueror's Haki, he's going to make Akainu capable of using it in combat. Do we like the... I'll just say no evidence. No evidence. We're just including this character in the discussion. Bonnie, if you learn advanced armament, doing it to conquerors is easier. I agree, but that's also I'm confused with Sanji because it's like Sanji didn't learn advanced armament. Like, what was the point of Luffy training in Udon for so long if it's just why couldn't Sanji have been training during that time instead of doing the fucking exoskeleton shit? Alright, anyway. Bonnie, there's definitely a chance, right? So why even include the no evidence? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put Bonnie in. There's a chance. Oh, whoops! Almost did that again. Bonnie, I'd almost put in 50-50, but I like her here. I like her here. The problem with Bonnie is that I feel like it's more so like I think the traits are clearly potential. I think the traits are clearly there. Like the avenue's open to Oda if he wants to write that. But my only thing with Bonnie is that Oda might just go like it's the same reason that Wiper's not on this list. Even if Oda were to keep Wiper in the story and clearly write uh like him as part of the Blue Sea conflict, having some role in the whole world government thing, and just progressing him like a normal character, then of course. Bonnie, I'm still not sure like if Oda even wants to have her continue this journey. We know that she's going to be relevant with the whole pacifista thing because she can turn the pacifistas. But I'm saying like I don't know if he wants to keep her relevant as a combatant, if he wants to make her like a protected little kid character now. The way he's written her is kind of just changed since Egghead. Like now she's kind of just like attached at the hip to Kuma and is basically just being a normal little girl. So even if she's a character that like in Oda's mind is a Conqueror's Haki user, this is more so a list of like characters that are going to be revealed as Conqueror's Haki users in the story. Enel's like the opposite of Conqueror's Haki user. He's like not even remotely close. The moment he finally had a character who could fight back against him, he shit himself and tried to. Like first, he was like, "Okay, let me see if I can deal with Luffy just without, my lightning stuff." That didn't work, and then he was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna deal with Luffy. Let me just attach this golden ball anchor to him and avoid fighting him altogether." That's he's so he's so the opposite of a Conqueror's Haki user. I don't know if there's uh, like a clearer example of a character who has a crazy powerful fruit but does not have the Haki to back it up. I thought Sanji would be Pirate King level end of story. I am now. Uh, I now think I need a little bit of time to kind of see and re-evaluate. Like, I need to see how the rest of this Elbaf fight plays out for a little bit, at least for a little bit, because I need to see how Luffy versus Emu goes. Because at this point in time, my whole thinking in terms of hierarchies in the story is scrambled. Because if Luffy, who just 2 arcs ago was like just about going toe to toe with Kaido in Gear Fifth, albeit Luffy handicapped more than Kaido, whatever, right? If there, and then the next arc he's like struggling against a Gorosei, going about even with Kizaru. I would argue advantaged, but people would argue either way, right? Um, but now all of a sudden he's like gonna kick Emu's ass or do really well against Emu. Like I need a moment to just get a grasp on what Oda's doing with the hierarchies in the story. Because if I were to say right now, just using Luffy as a little metric, it looks like Oda's basically writing it such that Kaido, Kizaru, Warkiri, and Emu are all roughly in the same ballpark, is what it feels like, especially depending on how Luffy does against Emu this next chapter. This would be baffling to me, but, that's why I'm not doing any sort of like, oh, I think Sanji will be this level end of story, Zoro will be this level end of story, whatever. I think we need to see a little bit. Emu Loki just Big Mom. He had such a good entrance, such a great entrance. By all rights, Emu appears to be significantly stronger than Kaido, just based on how Emu versus Zoro went versus how Kaido versus Zoro went. But, Luffy's a better measuring stick, obviously. Let's see. Morge, don't disrespect Ulti. I mean, I think Ulti's probably a Conqueror's Haki. I'll put her in 50-50 here. I was thinking of characters that, like, Ulti's not a character we're really going to see again, but maybe in a Vivre card it'll confirm it or something. What about the original 5 strides? I think the original 5... bro, just be honest, Emu's looking like a fraud. It's just one punch, but it's... okay, let me do one at a time. I think out of the original 5, Oda will have obviously the monster trio. I think Usopp as the outside shot. I think having Conqueror's Haki. I don't think Nami with Conqueror's Haki. And before people are like, Morge, why would Oda do Nami like that? Why would he give the other 4 Conquerors Haki and not Nami? Well, I don't know. Why did Oda have Nami sit on the ground and cry while the other 4 saved her village against her villain in her origin arc? You know? I don't think... like, are you telling me that this would be out of the norm for Oda to be like, oh, Luffy, Zorosaji, and Usopp, they're going to get Conqueror's Haki, and then Nami won't? I would just be like, well, that tracks based on how Oda established the 5 of them as a team in the first place in Arlong Park. If I were to be like, oh, which characters here seem like Conqueror's Haki users, Oda's portraying them as, and then which one seems like, you know, the girl in Oda's mind that they save, I'd be like, this is just the way it is. Anyway, Oda, women tax, yeah, just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Yeah, I don't even want to debate Luffy versus Kizaru or whatever. I'm just saying that, like, it's, I don't even want to debate Luffy versus Kizaru, right? If you don't want to use the Kizaru example, then fucking use Warcury, right? Point being, it would have appeared, just based off of the last 2 arcs, that Luffy is a long way off from fighting the most powerful being in the last 800 years. But now it appears we're at that point where that could very well be a possibility. So let's see how it goes this next chapter. My whole thing is just like, I'm cool with Luffy beating up on Imu. I'm okay with that. I'm all good with that, especially if Oda does it well. But I do want to see Luffy either show a new level of Haki in doing so, like a Haki Bloom or something, or new applications of Gear 5th that are like, that make it clear that he is not the same person he was 1 or 2 arcs ago. You know, that's all. Alright. There's only 2 women with Conqueror's Haki, right? Big Mom and Hancock, Yamato. I mean, if you want to get into the whole Yamato, let's say biologically women, before we get into all the Yamato stuff. Boa Hancock, Big Mom, Yamato. Ulti is a solid option, possibility. Warcury greater than Emo based on feats, yeah. I'd add Fujitora, there's a chance. I don't think Fujitora is written as a Conqueror's Haki. Maybe there's a chance. I might be wrong. Usopp is brave moment says, I'm at a loss for what power upgrade or moment Usopp gets this arc. I mean, I did a whole video on it just a couple weeks back. If you want to check that out, I laid out some options. I definitely think, like, Haki, like, more Haki control or something like that is on the board for Usopp. Because he got the Haki Bloom in Dressrosa, and then Oda hasn't revisited it since then. If Oda was going to revisit it ever, it would be here in Elbaf. So maybe getting control of his observation, maybe learning armament or something like that, maybe even a Conqueror's Haki Bloom, who knows, but probably wouldn't happen this arc, I don't know. And then there's, I think, some people, including myself, think he could temporarily get Ragnar, who knows. I didn't realize Nami for Conquerors was so big till the stream. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Here, I'm going to put Nami here. All right, everybody. We are going, I'm just going to make sure that there's no missed supers or anything like that. Otherwise, we are going to just about call it here. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to get your submissions in for the Pirate King podcast. If you want to support the channel, you can join Pirate King tier, get your submissions in, and the podcast will be recorded on Wednesday. So make sure you get your submissions in before I record and before you forget. I'll announce it this Friday as a reminder, but next week's Morgecast that I do on that will come out next Tuesday, I'll do that one high as one of the punishments that we previously agreed upon. All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in, and with that, I will talk to you all later.